about the minutes, you don't have to vote on them. And then I'm gonna jump into my meeting, and then after my meeting, I'll make some remarks, and then I'll ask superintendent to make some remarks, okay?
Just don't make sure that the hat's on the floor.
My on?
Is that not working?
Can I get your name? Well, not later. Is this on, Carl? I don't think this is on.
You gotta turn it on at the bottom.
How do you turn it on?
See the button?
Yeah.
Turn it, just press it.
Good evening, everyone. Is this on?
Use the other one then.
Okay. You ready? Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our November CEC meeting. I welcome all those that are attending here this evening, and I welcome those that are here remotely. Always a pleasure to be in touch with our community, and we're going to start with the calling the meeting to order and the roll call. Carly, please.
Joseph Di Benedetto.
Present.
Wing Yu. Present. Anne-Marie Knable. Present. Joseph Chow is running late. Sung Young Lee, I don't know, I guess we'll wait for her. Rashmi Krishnaraj is absent. Michelle Frederick is absent, and Catherine Pappas should be on hold.
So it's my understanding that Rashmi Krishnov and Michelle Frederick have excused absences, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and we're waiting for Mr. Chow and Sung Yin Lee, who's right
Who's
here.
right here.
Okay. We do not have quorum present, but that does not mean we cannot conduct our meeting. We just cannot vote on anything at this time until we have quorum present. So welcome, everyone. At this time, I'd like our council members to look at the meeting minutes for the month of October, as well as the minutes of our special meeting that was held on September 23rd, and I'll ask if there are any corrections. So we'll take a moment for that. I'm not sure if the public can hear me. Carly, can you just see if I'm coming out loud and clear?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Commenting? We're good? Are there any corrections necessary for the October minutes?
I have a question. Did we approve the September minutes? Because on the October minutes, it says we approved the August minutes, but in October, did we?
Then I'm sorry, then that's on Mr. Conversion.
No, they weren't approved because there was a correction.
So there was a correction required on our September minutes, but they're not in this. We have the special meeting minutes here, but I don't see the minutes for September.
I thought we did those, so then I will have to get those.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll deem them approved at our next meeting. Are you having September meeting minutes? Okay.
The correction was Rashmi's attendance.
There was a correction that
Of the attendance.
was necessary on the attendance form. Is that stated? Do you have objection to passing those minutes along?
No.
May I?
So at our special minutes, our special meeting in September, did we correct the attendance on, was that?
Special meeting minutes, it was just
Good evening.
was just saying the vote
Good
on
evening,
how,
Joe.
there was nothing else discussed, just there was nothing to amend at that one, it was just how we were gonna conduct and the youngest.
So we're reading the September minutes and just asking if there are any corrections necessary.
I don't have this. I have.
We have it, we just passed it.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is a corrected, what is corrected, but on these,
Let's deal one month at a time. So let's deal with the September. Sugi, are you okay? So if there are no further corrections necessary for our September minutes, I will deem those minutes approved. Okay?
Okay.
Now we can discuss the September 23rd special meeting, and I would ask if there are any comments on that. We're going through the minutes. Do I hear for any corrections on our September 23rd, 2021 minutes? So hearing no corrections on that, I'm going to deem the minutes from September 23rd special meetings as being approved. And we'll move now to our October 6th meeting minutes. And I'll ask for any corrections. Welcome, Catherine.
Hey, Catherine. How are you?
Are we okay with the October minutes? So hearing no further corrections on our October minutes, I am going to deem the October minutes as being approved. Okay, moving on. I'm going to move a little quick this evening because we have some guest speakers who are here and we're kind of constrained for time. As you know, the CEC, as part of its bylaws, advises us that we have to have a meeting regarding special education before the end of the November calendar meeting, and here we are. So we have two speakers that are here with us this evening remotely. I know that they are pressed for time, so I'm going to jump into that discussion, and then we'll move forward with my comments and the superintendent's report and balance of our meeting. So I'm going to start with our first guest speaker, who is Mr. Jose Rios, and he is the Director of Family Empowerment and Communications from the Division of Special Instruction and Student Support. He is going to give the community an introduction to the special education process, and after he's done, we'll take some questions and answers on that, and then we'll move on to our next speaker, who will be Abby Lewis, who will talk to us about special education recovery services. Mr. Rios, are you here?
I am here. Hello. All right. Can you all hear me? Some thumbs up from the great. Perfect. Thank you so much for having me and for being accommodating. I'm gonna go through some introductory topics around special education fairly quickly, but then really I'm excited for you all to hear from Abby, who is going to be the star of the show. Abby presented for us earlier today and really has a great understanding about recovery services, but I want to share some information with you all first about just general special education, an intro to special education. So I'm going to share my screen and walk us through some slides, and then you just let me know if you can see my screen. Let me see. Looking for some. Thank you so much. All right. So like I was introduced, my name is Jose Rios Lua. I'm the Director of Family Empowerment and Communications for the Division of Specialized Instruction and Student Support. And so the Division of Specialized Instruction and Student Support is comprised of two main offices. So the Special Education Office and District 75. And so we're not going to do a lot of talking about District 75 tonight because you are District 25. So we're going to focus on that. But wanted to let you know that our division works to accelerate achievement of students with disabilities while ensuring compliance to federal, state, and local laws and regulations. You can see that our division is headed by a Deputy Chief Academic Officer, Christina Foti. And then the Chief Executive Director of the Special Education Office is John Hammer with Kettler Lewis on as Superintendent of District 75. When we talk about our work in special education, we have these 4 value statements that we ground our work into. First is our commitment. We're committed to fully providing special education programs and services to our students with IEPs and ensuring schools have the support and supervision needed to support full compliance. When it comes to equity, the Equity and Excellence for All agenda has been central to today's improvements and improved student outcomes, including the highest ever graduation rates and college enrollment rates and rising scores in state tests. While we have seen consistent improvements in our compliance data, we have much more to do. Transparency, the DOE will communicate the provision of special education programs and services with transparency and regularity to our stakeholders, and we do that through reporting data 4 times a year. Urgency. The DOE will work with urgency to ensure our students are fully served. We will accomplish this through our regular and ongoing monitoring and targeting strategic action in areas that require increased support. So, as I was talking earlier, I mentioned the Special Education Office. And so the Special Education Office supports districts 1 through 32 schools in meeting the needs of students with disabilities. It oversees the 10 regional committees on special education. We won't go too deep into that, but basically those coordinate and conduct evaluations for schools in preschool, charters, non-public, and state-approved schools. The special education also develops specialized programs within districts, which include bilingual special education, ASD Nest, ASD Horizon, and the ACES program. I'm gonna hop over District 75 and so talk a little bit about more how our work looks like in community schools. So in districts 1 through 32, schools serve the majority of students with IEPs, and community schools. At community schools, depending on the needs, students with disabilities participate in general education classes, special education teacher support services, commonly known as SETs, and integrated co-teaching, special classes, which can look like 12 to 1 or 12 to 1 to 1. And of course, students receive related services. Specialized programs in districts 1 through 32. Some of your schools may have some of these programs. So they serve some students with autism, spectrum disorder, intellectual disabilities, and English language learners who are recommended to receive special education supports and services in their home or native language. This includes the ASD Nest, ASD Horizon, ACES, and bilingual special education programs. Again, I'm going to jump over the District 75 piece. So one of the things you'll hear from folks in special education a lot is that special education is a service, not a place. And so when we talk about that, we would like to talk about services on a continuum. So if you look at this visual on the screen, you'll see that there is kind of sort of pyramid type structure to it, where there's more space at the bottom. And it gets smaller and smaller as it moves up. That's because the vast majority of our students who have IEPs are in general education settings. So in the district's 25 schools, that's going to look like general education and integrated co-teaching services, ICT, which is a class that has 2 teachers, 1 general education teacher and 1 special education teacher. And then it's also going to look like students getting those special education teacher support services in a general education classroom, so SETs. This can also look like a student receiving SETs in a separate location, so they might be pulled out of the classroom for a little while to get those SET services. And in many of your schools, this also looks like special classes. So some schools have classes that are comprised of all students with IEPs. and that's considered a special class. Throughout all of these settings, there's also related services. So some students in general education settings have IEPs that only require related services. You might ask me, Jose, what are related services? Related services are largely therapeutic services. So this is counseling, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, that are provided alongside the academic supports. So this is our continuum of services. This is how we look at it, and this is how we map out all of the services that are available. There's some resources for families that I'd love to walk you through on the DOE website, so that can talk more in depth and give you more information if you're looking for it. But before I do that, one of the reasons why I can't stay the entire meeting tonight is because I run this thing called the Beyond Access series, which is every Tuesday night, we host a workshop for families around special education topics. Today, we have Lavinia Mancuso from Everyone Reading, who's going to be providing a session on writing and how to teach writing to your children at home. And so that's what I have to leave here to go do. But we record all of these sessions and they're available on the YouTube, and I can drop this link into the chat so everyone has it. But if you ever want to register for sessions, or you want to look at our past sessions and watch them on your own pace, you can absolutely do that. There's amazing things from there, from an introduction to the special education process that's like a full hour long, to things like sensory strategies or supporting students with autism. It's a pretty big library of videos. And then, of course, I want to leave you with the context for special education. We have a hotline, but you can always just call 311. And then, of course, you can email us based on what topic. So if you have a general special education question, you can email specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. If you are a parent of a preschooler who's going to enter kindergarten, you can email Turning 5. If your question is about related services specifically, you can email them. And then if your question is about specialized programs, that there's an inbox there for that. And if your question is specifically about autism spectrum disorder programs, there's ASD programs at schools.nyc.gov. So those are my slides. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna walk you really quickly through some resources of the DOE website. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. And then I'll reshare. I know I'm going really fast and I'm very sorry, but I'm happy to go over anything and if anyone has any questions. So when you get to the DOE website, it is full of great information, but not always the easiest site to navigate. So I like to show folks where the information lives. So when you get here, the first thing that I like to tell folks about is this translation tool. This has the opportunity to choose over 90 languages, and you can view this. It'll automatically translate the entire website into that language. So whether it's Spanish, whether it's Chinese, whether it's Haitian Creole, you can see it here. And then I like to tell folks that the special education is right under learning. And so in here, you'll be able to see everything: the IEP process, supports and services, school settings. So you can navigate this entire place. The place that I like to tell folks the most, has the most resources, is these family resources page. In here, you're going to find information about the Beyond Access series, about special education recovery services, which Abby's going to amaze you about after me. And then, of course, students who are 21 or older who are aging out. And then you'll find other resources. So some tips and tricks about assistive technology, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy that you can implement at home. And then all of our printed family guides are here as well. So if you want to, one that I highly recommend is the Family Guide to Special Education School Age Services. If you click on that, you'll see this beautiful document that can walk you through everything around special education. And then, of course, if you are planning for an IEP meeting, these ask and shares are great resources. So whether your child's in elementary, middle, or high school, you can go in here, you can click on it, and these workbooks, right? These are workbooks that you can go through, read, and then fill in, and it'll guide you into things that you should ask, things that you should share, and notes that you should take. So I highly recommend these resources. And again, to get to them, you go to learning, special education, and then family resources. I'm going to stop presenting and would welcome any questions that you all may have.
Switching? Okay, so Mr. Reese, can you hear me? So I want to thank you for your presentation. I know you went rather quick, and we appreciate that you were even able to come this evening. We understand that you have your meeting with District 75, but I just want the community to understand that this meeting is in fact recorded. So if anybody wants to go back and look for the resources, they can come back to the recorded meeting and they can get the resources that you outlined. So I really want to thank you for giving that introduction. I don't want to take time away from any questions from the community. I'm not sure if any CEC member has a question right now. Our representative is Anne Marie Knable, so you're okay? So we'll just go into the community and ask for any comments or questions if you have a few minutes. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Oh, and thank you, Louise, for dropping in those links. I really appreciate it.
You got it, no problem.
I'm not seeing any questions, but I can stick around for like another 5 minutes if anything pops up.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. So if there's anyone that has a question in the next 5 minutes, you can put them in the chat. Of course, we can always communicate to Mr. Rios after today and answer your questions if you have any questions. I thank you and I wish you luck at your next meeting, and we'll talk another time. Is Abby Lewis here? Okay. So I next want to introduce to you our next guest, who is Abby Lewis from Queens North, New York City Department of Education Borough Office, who will talk about the Chancellor's $251 investment in the special education recovery services to help close the gap as a result of the pandemic's disruption of learning, especially with those who have IEPs. So I want to welcome Abby Lewis, and it's good to see you this evening.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I just would like to share my screen. Is it possible for me to share my screen? I'm getting a message.
Yeah, we'll make you co-host in 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Carly. I can't do it. All right, go for it now.
Okay, thank you.
Looks good.
Thank you. Okay, so hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for welcoming me. My name is Abby Lewis. Again, I work for the Queens North Borough Office, and I am an instructional lead for special education. And I'm here tonight to talk about our exciting Recovery Services Initiative. So if you're not familiar with the announcement, it happened over the summer on July 9th. Chancellor Porter announced what's being referred to as the academic recovery vision for New York City's public schools and students after returning from our time of some interrupted education due to the pandemic. So the academic recovery vision has 6 areas of focus: early literacy for all, developing students as digital citizens, preparing for college and careers, investing in special education services, building a rigorous and inclusive universal curriculum, and investing in social emotional support. And as it was previously stated, there has been a $251 million investment in special education services targeted to improve the outcomes of students with IEPs. Chancellor Porter communicated an investment in special education that will include the following: launching after school and Saturday programs for all students with IEPs to receive additional instruction and related services, adding 800 preschool special education seats by fall of 2022, expanding committees on preschool special education to expedite evaluations and IEP meetings, providing eligible students ages 21 and over with continued instruction toward receiving their diploma or other exit credential, or to receive consultation to facilitate post-secondary planning for college and career. And finally, expanding family workshops, one of them being what was just mentioned, the Beyond Access series, and information sessions, which support families of students with disabilities. So today we're going to talk specifically about the first item on the list, special education recovery services. During the 21-22 school year, all DOE students will receive additional supports and programs connected to daily instruction as part of the academic recovery plan. In addition, we are offering special education recovery services to all students with IEPs this school year. And so that's in addition to the academic intervention services that are being offered to all students. Special education recovery services are additional specialized instruction and related services that are targeted to each child's individual needs and their individual IEP goals. These are made available to students with IEPs to help close gaps that were brought on by the pandemic's disruption to learning. Recovery services are meant to supplement but do not replace a student's IEP program and services. So those remain uninterrupted and continue as usual during the school day. Recovery services are in addition to that, before school, after school, or on Saturdays. They are targeted to each student's individual needs based on progress monitoring and other information on the student's learning experience going back to March of 2020, including family input. Accepting these services does not waive any rights that you or your child may have to access additional services, including compensatory services. Each DOE school will develop a schedule for special education recovery services that best meets the needs of its community. So each school's schedule may look different, maybe before school, after school, on Saturdays, or a combination of those. It may be in person and or it may be remote. This will help ensure that any missed learning that was experienced as a result of the pandemic is addressed and that students are set up for success in their current academic programs. And so recovery services are available to all students with IEPs. They can be in person or remote. They can be specialized instructional programs like literacy support or math support, or support in a specific related service. And the objective is that we are using during this time research validated programs that have research and a history of closing achievement gaps. And they are targeted to the needs of individual students. They are not part of core instruction, so they're not happening in a way that would be disruptive to a student's core academic program. So separate from that, they are not for general education students, and they are not provided at the same time necessarily for all students, but rather they're provided in different cycles of 10 or more week cycles. And so these are services in addition to the IEP program and services. And so here are on this slide some frequently asked questions. And then I'll also open the floor just for any additional questions that anyone may have. So is my child eligible for special education recovery services? Yes, any student that has an IEP is eligible. Do I need to make a request? So schools are outreaching at this time to families. The Department of Education issued a letter for parents, which we have linked here, that you may have received or may not have. And so families receive that letter offering services if families are interested. But of course, a family at any time can reach out to a school to initiate recovery services. And when will services be provided? So it will again be before school, after school, Saturdays, and either in person or remotely. And schools will develop their own schedule around the needs of the school community. And if you are looking for more information or support, the best source to contact is always your child's school first. And then there's also an email address that can be emailed, which is specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov with any questions specific to recovery services. And so lastly, are there any questions that you still have about special education recovery services that I could answer at this time?
Are we on? Thank you, Abby. Always a pleasure to see you. Again, I want to remind the community there's a lot of information that's out there. This meeting is recorded, so if you have questions, you can always refer to our recorded meeting. Is there anyone on the council that has any questions for Abby? Okay, is there anyone in the chat?
Are these services only available to children with IEPs?
So I'm not sure if you heard that, Abby.
Yes, I did. So recovery services are for students with IEPs. But if a parent feels that their child needs additional academic support during the school day, there's what we call academic recovery for all. And that is open to all students, general education, or students with IEPs, and that would happen during the school day.
So just that the community understands, if the process is either initiated at the school level or if parents have concerns, they can initiate it by advising their school. Is that correct?
Yes, most definitely. So it's always good to reach out to the principal or the assistant principal in charge of special education. So they will be well versed on recovery services and happy to answer any questions and support you through that process.
Understood. Are there any other comments, questions in the chat?
No, that was it.
Okay, Abby, I want to thank you once again. I hope that this special education recovery program does in fact close the gap for those struggling with their IEPs, and that we do see some progress in the future. I look forward to hearing about it. And I want to
Thank you so much. Okay, it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Have a nice evening.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Go off the topic. I do know that there's a lot of information that's presented to the community. And again, want to remind you that you can always refer to our recorded meetings and go back and get the information that you're looking for. You can always call or contact the CEC, and we can try to make a connection with you. And I'm sure you can also be in touch with the district office. I'm not sure if the superintendent had any comments regarding special education that you want to.
When I put my report on.
You want to put that with your report? Okay, so we'll deal with that. And speaking of recorded meetings and our website, we have a website, correct?
It's d25.nyc/cec.
Okay, so you can always reach out to us at d25/nyc/ d25.nyc/cec. I also want to remind the community that I serve on the district leadership team as a member of the CEC, which is the district level, what I would describe as the SLT at the district level, and that is also a huge source of information. Those meetings are recorded. We did have a meeting yesterday, so I would refer you to go to www.d25.nyc/DLT and use that as a source of information if you need it. Okay, so I want to thank you for your comments, questions, and always welcome you to come back to us if you have any further concerns regarding special education. Okay, so we had a couple more members appear. Carly, we still don't have a quorum, but you noted that Mr. Chow is here.
Yes,
and Shirley's here. I also want to welcome to our audience this evening. We do have vacancies on the CEC, and we have 2 new applicants who we have the pleasure of showing up this evening. And there's one who's here remotely. So I know that Fen Lin is here and Sing In is here. And who's on remotely?
And the other one is Sana Tayeb.
Sana Tayo?
Tayeb.
Tayeb. Oh, I see you, Sonia. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. I do want to remind the council members that we have to have our interview conducted at a special meeting, and we'll ask Carly to speak to the candidates about what dates are available for them, and we hopefully can accommodate them, and then conduct our interviews, and then we will vote at the next calendar meeting about filling in those vacancies. Understood? Okay. So at this time, I want to pass the microphone to our superintendent, Danielle Domingo, and thank you for attending, of course. I don't know how to use that.
Is it on? No?
On the bottom, the lower right.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, it's fine. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Good? Okay. So first I want to send out a big thank you to Jose, Rios, and Abby for their presentations tonight around special education programs that are available to our families in general and for specifically D25's academic recovery program. So I want to give a big thank you to them. I also want to thank Anne Marie and the CEC Special Education Subcommittee last year. I believe that this meeting tonight was really part of their goals and what they really wanted, which was information for families across our community just around where they can find supports and resources for special education. So thank you guys for that. And I was really excited to hear that Jose is running some family workshops that I know that some of the members of your committee would have been really excited to take part in. So I do want to say thank you. It's great work and wonderful resources for our community. I also want to say that last year in me working with the subcommittee, they have set some very high expectations for me, and just so you know that I've answered to them. So as of this time of year, we are over 90% of our students who are receiving 100% of their special education services. As always, I'm reaching out to the community for your support, although we do have resources for students that have bilingual special education needs. We are still in need of teachers who hold bilingual special education licenses. So we do have opportunities such as paraprofessionals that service these students and help support them. And we have opened multiple bilingual special education classes in our pre-Ks and our kindergartens and in our middle schools, but we are in need for that. So if anyone out there does know someone or holds a special education license with a bilingual extension, please feel free to send an email to my office. We are happy to interview teachers so we can fill those spots and become 100% served for all of our students with disabilities. Okay. So, Universal Mosaic Curriculum Community Engagement Town Halls. The DOE is developing the Universal Mosaic Curriculum Program, a new comprehensive, culturally diverse English language arts and math curriculum for all students in grades K to 12 to launch in fall 2023. In order to receive feedback from school communities and guide the development of the new curriculum, the DOE is hosting 4 virtual town halls with opening remarks from Chancellor Misha Porter on all dates. The town halls will also provide opportunities for students to engage in small group dialogue in order to center the student experience in the curriculum's development. The dates are November 7th from 6:30 to 7:45, and the sessions, all the sessions I'm announcing are via Zoom. That particular meeting is in English and Spanish. That was yesterday, November 13th. From November 13th from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. That session is in English, Mandarin, Russian, and Spanish. November 15th from 6:30 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. That session is in English, Arabic, Bangla, French, and Sign Language. And November 16th from 6:30 to 7:45 p.m. That service is in English, Haitian, Creole, Korean, and Urdu. Next is updates on social emotional screener for students in grades K through 12. As shared in the mayoral and chancellor announcements in December 2020, the New York City Department of Education is planning for the implementation of a strengths-based social emotional screener in the 2021-2022 school year. The screener is a tool to advance implementation of MTSS, social, emotional, and mental health support in schools, building on historic investments in the New York City DOE has made over the past several years. By administering the screener and analyzing corresponding screener data, schools will identify students' social emotional competencies, students who may benefit from additional support, and identify opportunities to strengthen the foundational support provided to all students, including through SEL academic integration, expansion of SEL programs like Harmony, Ruler, Restorative Practices, and Health Education, along with hiring of social workers and expansion of programs providing Tier 2 and 3 supports, create a strong foundation from which schools can leverage SEL data. New York City is doing this work in partnership with Urban Assembly, who will provide on-site implementation support to schools, and Aperture, who created and manages the DESA tool. The DESA is a strengths-based, CASEL-aligned, norm-referenced rating scale. It includes 40 Likert scale items aligned to 8 domains of social emotional competence, with teacher assessment and student assessment versions available. In year 1 of Strong Resilient NYC, schools will administer the teacher assessment only. The screener is completed in an online portal that generates score reports, identifying students functioning across the 8 social emotional domains as areas of strength, typical functioning, or areas of need with a single composite score. Summary reports that aggregate class, grade, and school level data are also available to support analysis and intervention planning. So at this time, I did not know if any members of the community had any questions for me around DESA. No?
Any questions, council members?
So I do want to let the community know, and this is a really important part of that, because we have been receiving questions from families. District 25 has been engaging in social emotional work and training for our teachers, our staff, our principals, our guidance counselors, our social workers, our parent coordinators since 2015. So concerns around whether or not teachers have the experience to administer questions such as this, the answer that I can say for District 25 is yes, because it has been an expectation where we know that creating warm and welcoming environments for students is a key component to their learning. If students come in to our schools without the social emotional health necessary, they cannot learn. So it has been a goal that we have targeted across the years, and our teachers are really ready, willing, and able to support them both academically and in social emotional learning. Okay. My glasses back on, which will be fogged up. All right, registration for specialized high school admissions test. The SHSAT is open. Register by November 15th, 2021 to take the SHSAT. All registered students will be tested in December. Any family that has trouble registering should contact their school's guidance counselor. The high school application isn't open yet, but don't wait to start exploring New York City's 700 plus program options. Set up your MySchools account and favorite 25 to 50 programs that interest you. We do encourage parents to engage in this work with their 8th graders at this time. For middle school, current 5th grade students will receive a personalized welcome letter later this fall. This letter will include information on how to access your myschools.newyorkcity account. Parent-student chats. We have begun as a district to implement this very important work where our parents and student chats are happening at our schools. I do encourage all of our parents to speak with their school's parent coordinator if you are interested in engaging in these parent chats, which are targeted questions aligned to each school's goals or priorities or concerns that are happening across the buildings. So please, I do encourage parents to take part of this when you can. Brilliant New York City. So, starting with kindergarten next year, all elementary schools will begin implementing an accelerated instructional model in heterogeneous classes. This means all 65,000 kindergartners will receive a new instructional model based on the latest research. We will expand the number of schools with accelerated programming from 80 to 800 elementary schools. This will build on the successes of our 3K and pre-K programs. We will begin by training 4,000 kindergarten teachers to create rich learning environments in their classrooms, provide age-appropriate project opportunities, and learn to observe and identify student strengths. Engagement will solicit community feedback to hear about all kinds of learning experiences families want for their children, beginning with all kindergarten students. It will be based on the latest research, and it will come alive for the local communities. It will honor the expertise of each community, our families and educators, and it will build on the work the district is already doing to ensure all students receive high-quality instruction. Students currently enrolled in gifted and talented programs will experience no disruption to their educational program. On November 29th at 6:00 p.m., we will be hosting a District 25 public engagement forum for families for conversation and public comments. This is an opportunity to hear from families and members of our community. For more information, visit the www.d25.nyc/event website. And our flyer is flashed up on the screen right now, and I also have flyers for family members if anyone would like to take one tonight. Registration is required, and it is important that you do so we can properly plan for our breakout rooms. And we look forward to seeing everyone at this virtual event. Pop-up vaccination sites. To make vaccines accessible to students ages 5 through 11, pop-up vaccination sites have been hosted at DOE buildings serving students during the month of November. Please note that students ages 5 through 11 must be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian or by an adult designated by the parent or guardian while receiving their vaccines. So I do want to say that we were really excited that we had pop-up vaccines already this week in our district. I do know that there were some parents' concerns about access, which we have escalated, and we are hoping that our vaccine pop-up sites will return later next week. All of our pop-up sites are set to be completed by the end of this week, but both myself and Dr. D'Antona have asked for some of those sites to come back because there were many families that we were not expecting to come that did show interest in the vaccine, and we want to be able to offer them more supports in that area. Some questions that have been asked to the district is, can members of the community get the vaccine? Only students ages 5 to 11 can obtain the first dose of the vaccine at a pop-up site. Anyone aged 12 and up can visit vaccinefinder.nyc.gov to choose from hundreds of sites across the city offering appointments or walk-up vaccines at no cost. Or if you know Louis Latito, you know that he knows where every vaccine site is in the local area, so please feel free to call my office and he will find you one. And I know, Louis, you hear that. There he goes. Does the provider obtain consent? Students ages 5 to 11 must be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian or by an adult designated by the parent or guardian while receiving their vaccine. This requirement is outlined in the vaccine family letter, and schools should accommodate parents and guardian admission to the vaccine site to accompany their student. If the student is accompanied by an adult who is not the parent or guardian, the vaccine provider must obtain verbal consent from the parent or guardian by phone at the time of the vaccination. There is no consent form option for vaccination of students ages 5 to 11, as they must be accompanied by the parent, legal guardian, or adult designated by the parent or guardian at the time of vaccination. Any questions about Brilliant New York City or about any of the pop-up vaccination sites that we have?
Any questions in the chat?
Okay. So tonight I also want to announce our D25 COVID-19 cases and current interventions that are happening across the district in terms of either Department of Health investigations or closed classrooms. We have no closed schools at this time. So the schools that have reported cases or interventions are PS 20, IS 25, PS 120, PS 163, PS 169, Junior High School 185, Junior High School 194, PS 209, and PS IS 499.
Thank you, Superintendent. That's a lot of information, and you went through it, and we look forward to seeing how that brilliant community meeting goes, and we look forward to seeing everything else develop as they do. Before I go to the public speaking portion, if there's anybody, I'd ask that you put your request in the chat. If there's anyone here to put your request in, I ask, there's a question? I'll get to that in a moment. I just want to get some report backs, any report back from our subcommittee regarding anti-Asian hate crimes. I understand that District 26 had enacted a resolution, and I'm not sure if you have any information on reporting back from your subcommittee, Mr. Chow.
Good evening. I'm waiting for us to have a full board, if I already told you. No progress at this point.
Okay, so there's no progress at this point, but you have a subcommittee, so I would advise you to engage with your subcommittee and do what you have to do. Okay, so is there anyone that's here that has any public comment? You're good? Okay. In the chat, can you switch it over? Yep.
If a child is vaccinated, would they still be on the random list for in-school testing?
Let Louis talk. No, Louis says no, they are not. No, they're not on the list for random testing.
So they are not on the list for random
But they
testing.
have to upload their card to the viewing portal.
Yes,
They have to put their vaccine.
I'm advised.
Let me talk.
Oh, he wants to talk,
Go
right? Go
ahead,
ahead.
Louis.
Louis wants to talk.
So in-school testing is only for unvaccinated people. So that means that it's not for any school staff, because all school staff are now vaccinated. and it won't be for any children who are fully vaccinated. So just make sure, like I think Anne Marie said, you upload a child's proof of vaccination to the DOE vaccination portal, and your school can help you do that as well. So in-school testing should only be for unvaccinated children, but we don't know if you're vaccinated unless you upload that card. So that's it.
Are we switching?
Yes,
Thank you, Louis. We missed you this evening, but nice to see you on remotely. Are there any other questions or comments from the public?
You know, there is one more.
Oh, my child is vaccinated. She was just tested today, but she's in high school. Is that different for elementary and middle school? I uploaded the vaccination proof, but Louis answered it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was already answered. If there are no further questions, is there any item of new business that any of the council members present would like to take up?
Wait. For the pop-up, sorry, girl.
Go ahead.
For the pop-up vaccinations, what documentation do the parents need to bring for proof that they're the parents of the child?
Driver's license, passport. Some questions, just
I don't, driver's license, some form of ID, I don't know, we haven't vetted that, that's at the site. Louis, do you know?
So the Department of Health and the partners that they have doing the vaccines, they've been doing all the paperwork. So DOE staff is not really at that point. But I do know that they were looking at proof of birth documents, like birth certificates, to verify the child is between 5 and 11. So I'm assuming that document would also, like a birth certificate, would have a parent's name on it. And then I also saw parents had their IDs out.
Louis, is there a website for them for families to go on?
Yeah, so I'll put it in the chat. There is a website for the vaccination sites in schools. There's a family letter and a list of all the schools, and it talks about what you need to bring, and it talks about the consent and stuff like that. And like, you don't need proof of immigration status, stuff like that. So I'll put that in the chat.
Thank you. Okay, so if there are no other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting. I want to remind the community that our next CEC calendar meeting is scheduled, is it December 1st?
Yes.
For Wednesday, December 1st. The CEC for District 25 does meet in person here at the district office. We ask that you register if you want to attend in person. Otherwise, we welcome you virtually. Are there any motions to adjourn the meeting? Mr. Chow made the motion. And we would second the motion. So we'll take a 3-minute break, and then we'll continue with our business meeting. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our presenters, and we look forward to seeing you next month. How many people are on?
8.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if this would be a motion or how this would be addressed, but I think that we should take a look at our bylaws and make some amendments to our bylaws as far as meeting requirements. In addition, not just the meeting in person or hybrid issue, but also the number of absences and how they're calculated. Because I think that it's good to have the excused absences, but when you have 5 and 6 and an unlimited amount of excused absences, it can also pose a problem, the same problem as an unexcused absence. So I think we need to look and put a cap on that.
So it's my understanding from our special meeting that we had on September 23rd that we had voted that we were going to do our meetings hybrid, but CEC members had to be present to be considered for a quorum and to make any decisions. Obviously, this evening we don't have a quorum, So we're not able to vote on anything, including your motion, if you're making the motion to amend the bylaws. So we would have to table that for our next meeting. But I do want the council members to know, I mean, we've had two candidates that came here this evening, and they seem to be willing to attend in person. So perhaps by December, we'll have 2 extra CEC members and we can get some business done. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. So if you want to make that motion, I would probably table it for our December meeting.
Okay.
And just because we cannot, we can talk about it, but we can't make any decision this evening. So from what I understand, you want to make a motion to amend the bylaws regarding absences and how we conduct our business as a council in person, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I would, with everyone's understanding, table that for next month, okay? And then I think when you had you have some new business you want to talk about or question? We're talking about the after-school programs?
Juliana and,
I don't know if they could hear you. Does that really work?
Good evening. Juliana and Carly both informed me that they tried to reach out to DYCD and they have been getting nowhere, and we just gotta keep pushing them to get as much information from them as we can.
So we don't have, I'm not sure, we don't have anything right now on our December agenda. I would try to push to get them to come to our December meeting. Is that a possibility?
Carly, aren't I doing the presentation in December too?
On
The
every,
C4E.
of the C4Es.
The C4E.
The C4E is on for December, but maybe we can bring,
You can do DYCD also. Yeah.
If we
So-
get-
Yeah, exactly.
So you'll let us know if those members, somebody from that organization can come in, correct? Okay, so we'll follow up on that, but I think we need to push that to make it happen. So, okay, thank you, Juliana. Any other item of new business? Mr. Shaw, I'll just remind you, you have a special subcommittee, right? So if we want to make any progress with what you wanted to bring up, I think we should, move on it, because, like I say, I was notified that District 26 voted on a resolution, and I know you brought it up earlier, we just haven't had any progress on it. So I would suggest, if you want to make progress, to get that going. Any other items of new business? So the other thing we have to talk about is our special meeting to interview the CEC candidates. There are 3 candidates. 2 of them showed up today. 1 came remotely. We have to do the interview. I think we can do it virtually, correct?
Yes,
We
yeah, yes, you can do it virtually, there are 4.
so
There's 4 candidates.
there are 4 candidates?
Only
Okay.
3 showed that we met.
3 showed up, okay. So, Carly, if you want to be in touch with,
Well, I think it would be easier if you guys kind of gave me a few dates so that I can go back with them and then we can do it that way instead of.
okay, we can do it that way. So I just want to establish that we are doing it remotely. Is that okay? Is that everyone's okay with that, correct? Okay. So, do we have any potential dates? I know we're coming up to Thanksgiving. We have a couple of holidays. We want to get that done before our next calendar meeting, because we would have to vote on their being elected by us at the next calendar meeting. So this is just for interviewing purposes. Any suggestions on dates next week?
Next week.
Well, we have next week. The following week is Thanksgiving week, and then we're coming to our December meeting. We don't really have much time.
I'm very flexible, whatever you want.
I have a SLT meeting on the 16th, so.
That's on Tuesday. Is that in the evening?
Yes, in the evening. So I cannot do the 16th for next week.
Can we try for next Wednesday? 17th, does that work?
So, next Wednesday, the 17th?
Is everyone okay with that?
What time?
What time do you wanna pick for that?
7.
7 PM? So, if it's not next Wednesday, do we have an alternate date?
Oh,
How about the following Monday,
The 23rd?
before Thanksgiving?
I
The 22nd.
The 22nd.
I have a PTA general board meeting, sorry.
That evening?
Yeah, the 22nd.
Okay. So I don't wanna get into the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I don't know
Well,
about.
you still have that Tuesday.
How about the 18th? We have an 18th in November.
What about Thursday, the 18th?
I think it was the 18th. I think that's good.
Same time?
Yes.
Okay.
What's your date?
When's our touch base?
Oh, sorry.
Is that our touch base?
Yes.
Maybe, can we touch base at 6 and then do the interview following?
At 7?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, right?
What date are we talking about? I'm lost.
So if they don't pick, if they can't make it for the 17th, then we're gonna do it on the 18th.
So
We do
the,
all four the
7.
same night?
I would prefer to do all four the same night, so if, in other words, if we can't coordinate for the 17th, do it for the 18th, it's kind of inconvenient to come on 2 nights, right?
Right.
I'd rather just do all 4. They might take, a couple minutes each. I'm sure it's not gonna be an hour.
check in at 6 and possible tentative for the 18th, but we're gonna try for the 17th.
Yes.
Correct.
So like 15-minute slots,
I'm assuming 15-minute slots are enough.
right?
We could,
I mean, we've interviewed them all at one, I mean, I don't know how you're gonna plan on doing it. I know with
we
person
could,
interview
I'm
them all
open
at
to that. We
once.
could do them all at
All at
once.
once?
We could,
That's how we
I'd
do it.
rather do
All
that.
at once.
Yeah. And we still have to look into the borough president appointees. We still don't have them. Those are 2 additional members. I know that, Ms. Gutierrez had left me a message, we're playing phone tag, so she's not getting back to me.
The Office of Intergovernmental Affairs has contacted the Borough President's office,
Okay.
so,
He was also elected, correct? So it's not, wasn't he?
He didn't
no,
run.
the
Oh, he didn't-
DOE's
Oh, no, he did
Intergovernmental
run.
Yeah, he
Affairs.
did run. I thought
Yeah, he did run.
I thought he was elected. Isn't the
He
borough
was, Donovan Richards, yeah.
Donovan Richards is also the newly elected borough president, right? So
Yeah, he was there last.
he's not changing positions, so there's no reason why
He just doesn't want to give us first.
he can't give us 2 appointees, So we'll follow up on that as well. They don't have to be interviewed because they're appointed, okay? So Carly, you're gonna find out about either the 17th or the 18th, unless everybody just wants to say, look, forget about the 17th, just do it on the 18th.
Right.
You wanna do
That
that?
would be one night for you that
This
week.
way it's just one night?
Well, we still have to ask the candidates.
Well, I'll say, well, I'll send an email and I'll say, but this is the date. If one of them says that they can't, then we'll have that option of having the 17th, and maybe they can do that. I won't tell them the 17th, it'll be for the 18th. but
Okay.
If not, then we'll
Okay,
have
so
that
let's shoot just for the 18th,
option.
and if it's not possible for one of the members, and we'll see if we can do it for the 17th, we're gonna have to confirm it anyway, right? So, okay.
I'll go to it.
Those that are not here, are they on remotely?
No.
So
Oh,
Michelle
I
is on
meant that you
remote?
meant the new,
No, I meant our CEC,
no,
Michelle.
Michelle's on.
And is Rushmi on?
No.
Okay, so Michelle also, I'm assuming she's okay with it? Michelle, if you could hear us, just let Carly know
Esther.
if the 17th or the 18th works for you for the interview of the new candidates. Does she want to talk? That's fine. Anything else,
Can I
Ness?
just do one more question?
Sure.
Question two. Carly, have you given out the assignments for,
The schools?
yeah, because, probably January, SEA is coming?
I spoke to Ben about that,
Uh-huh.
so I asked him, did we have like a tentative date, he said he didn't have one yet, but I did Emory actually started with the school, so I just sent out all the letters for everyone. And, but I don't have a set date, but maybe you're right, maybe January will come.
I do know, I mean, usually, they come and present, and we need to have those top 5
That's why I
schools
asked.
listed by late January.
Early January.
Early January, they gave us last time, so when they come, we should have a list of communication with schools that are going to ask for, capital plan work. So I don't know, Catherine, did you speak to your principal about your boiler? Or your windows?
I haven't, but the gym ceiling is going to have a net over it to kind of catch the tiles.
Oh, you asked her about that too? Okay.
Yeah, so people came in to look at the ceilings and they're gonna start putting it up, I guess, relatively soon. So, yeah.
So we usually send out an email to the schools, don't we, from the
Yeah, and
CDC?
then we have to, and it's a list, and then they tell us what they want, and then we fill out the list at the meeting.
So can we start the ball rolling on that? Can we send an email to the
Yeah, it's the
schools?
same email.
No, can I make a recommendation? I do know that, although Carly sends the email and Mike and I and Louis, we ask people to, send us feedback. There's, depending upon where a school is in terms of what's happening in their school at that time, we normally hear from the same people and not everyone until the projects start coming out, and then all of a sudden somebody says, oh, we need this. So, the main things that we want to check on are roofs. We want to make sure that there's nobody's roofs that are leaking. So I don't know how you guys wanted to do it. I know it's a great time maybe to set up a Zoom meeting to let the principal know that you're their CEC, contact, their point person. And then just say, is there anything about like major capital plan work, right, that we might want to see happen. We don't want to wait until the middle of the year, like till after this is gone, and then all of a sudden somebody has a roof leak, right? I know PS 244 has a little bit of a roof issue. I don't know who's their person.
How do you want me to?
So if anybody, usually the outreach to the schools could be through Carly, correct?
Yeah, it has
So
to. I know it has to be through Carly.
you would have
But-
to, maybe we can do, we can do like a form email to the school, but tailored for Amory schools, for my schools, for Shirley
Yeah.
schools, for Joseph schools, and for.
And I just want you guys.
So this way
yeah.
it's coming from them, and it can get everything started, right?
And just so you guys know, like if you're vaccinated, you can call the principals and a PS 32, one of the things that
We
they
went
did,
to
they were
PS
happy to have you there. Normally it may have to be after school hours or before school hours, but you might want to engage. There's nothing preventing you from doing that.
So we can contact the school.
Well, no,
Or
Carly.
Carly.
Yeah,
Carly,
Carly,
yeah.
yeah.
I have a question about this. So Carly did that for me with 12929 and the pre-K centers. I didn't hear from the pre-K center, so I didn't know, do I have to go back to Carly and ask her to contact them again? Or I can't call them, she would have to
Oh,
contact them?
she's already, sorry, she's already, I already spoke to the parent committee and the principal, they already know that she's the liaison, but I don't know why she didn't send it.
Yeah, they didn't.
They may not have your email.
No, I sent it to her.
You did? Okay.
So I heard the other two, but not that.
Yeah,
particular.
so I think the citywide protocol is that it starts with Carly, right? If, once you meet with the principals and you want to establish that connection, that's up to you, but the original, so then what would happen is, because I think it's the same format for everyone, so like you heard 2 out of 3,
Yeah.
say Wendy hears 2 out of 3, Joe hears 2 out of 3, so then I would, Carly would call me and I would say, your CPC liaison is trying to get in touch with you, can you make sure you reach out to Carly, right? So that way it's a, a connection wise through Carly, or that's a way to manage it. I do know that the pre-K center, she's got 2 centers and she has a center in District 24, so, and she's brand new, so I will call her tomorrow.
Okay.
So I know last May, I took pictures, 189, has that still, who's got 189, do you know? I have it.
So you have one of your.
Okay. So I've been there, and I took pictures, and I'll follow up, because I was there before we met as a new CE, so I was there during the last term. So I know 189 had some issues. I had to walk
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
and I did take pictures, which I still have.
You're already
So
on it.
I'll follow up, yeah.
You know, I think, I was there the other
Yeah.
day, I think we
No
still,
improvements?
no, I think we still need to push it. The problem is they consider that,
They don't see it as a structural
cosmetic,
product.
right,
Exactly.
so, but it, you know, it's a place where kids go to school every day, so like there's a couple of things historically that, you know, we discovered about that, you know, it was, the building is
So I took
glazed
pictures of
tile, and so they
peeling paint.
paint over
Oh my
it,
gosh,
and
that's really bad.
Oh my God.
And, you know, students, they meet in that area and there's peeling, you know, they could pick it up. I'm not saying
Well, that's
they're
not
middle
good
school,
for
but you
the-
know,
For the,
they're not babies, but you know, you don't want that.
and there's
in
rusted
your mouth.
gates
It's a bad.
on the
yeah.
windows from years and years ago when
But
we
it's
used to bring it to
depressing. It's a
the school that
depressing
we
environment.
It looks terrible.
they're all
Yeah.
worried about social emotional of them because it's a depressing environment that they're sitting in.
Bad environment.
Like, right?
I'll follow
Indoors,
up with
it's
them.
beautiful, right?
is.
It's great. So,
Yeah.
and I know the custodial staff, they paint it over all the time, but the problem is because it's glazed, it peels as soon as like you know, it gets weathered and the whole building is peeling. So
But that's probably gonna be rejected by SCA anyway.
it might be, but you know, it's
Maybe
good.
they can come up with a different solution though, maybe something not, maybe there's something else they can do.
I'll look into it, but, so that's the typical thing. So you really don't wanna show up unexpected, you wanna ask for an invitation, they wanna see the COVID protocols. Most schools don't want the students there, so we'll be after school or before school. We went to PS 32, you know, we had a nice experience there. Actually, everybody here went to PS 32.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really
Are
nice.
there schools that, let's see, I think we went through some school, but there's still some schools that hasn't been picked up by any CEC members.
We're waiting for new numbers.
Oh, because, right, so let's see, hopefully by December, we'll have
Well, you
two,
also have the 2 new members.
right, we may have 4 new members, so we can, you know, assign schools to that. If you want to just, you can send them from me, Carly, and I'll just pick up, you know, I don't want to have anybody think that they're not.
Yeah.
And then you might also want to consider when you're gonna have your president's council meeting. And those CEC
Correct.
president's council meetings that you need to schedule, you might want to do
So-
one of that within the next 2 months.
When this President's Council meets the first Monday of the month?
Third Monday.
Third Monday of the month, so their meeting, well, November is gonna be next week, the 15th. So, I mean, that's probably too soon. So we may wanna consider, well, December is Christmas, right? I mean, the holiday, I don't know.
So then for January, we're meeting on the 20th of December.
They're still virtual, Esther, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're virtual, so it would be a
So
virtual
we
meeting?
could maybe, we'll talk about it at our December 1st meeting. Remind me of that.
Michelle just, emailed, she cannot make the 18th because she's working and it's also parent teacher.
Parent teacher conference evening
Right, so she can do the 16th or 17th.
on the interview, so she's not gonna come to the touch base? So, is there any chance that we can move the touch base to the 17th? Only because Michelle
can make
Fredericks indicating that it's parent teacher conference on the 18th?
She said she's working and it's parent teacher conference.
Yeah, middle school parent teacher conference.
Yeah, that's possible.
Okay, so let's look at,
That's Wednesday, the 17th is your touch base?
it's for Thursday. When's parent teacher conference?
Wednesday, the 17th. Oh, wait,
It depends on the school, right?
no, it's also the 18th, yeah,
So the 17th may not work either.
and the 18th.
Okay, so scratch both of those.
She said she can do 17th. Anybody else here have a middle schooler?
Okay.
Me? I don't know when the parent teacher is, I'm all parent.
But it's virtual.
It's
It's
virtual.
I can, yeah, if they give me 10 minutes, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
do
it's
the
really
meeting.
quick.
Right.
So,
I'll remember it when I go outside.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So, okay, so we're gonna, Carly, you let us know if the 7th, I mean, either way,
Okay.
you know,
Alright,
I don't know if that's
so I'll
gonna-
ask them if the 17th is okay, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah,
Any response
if
to
the
that.
17th works,
Okay.
and we can all accommodate the 17th, and Juliana, you can switch the touch base for the 17th. Otherwise, we're gonna have to leave it for the 18th, and if Michelle, I would like Michelle to be there, if she can't, I mean, we have,
We usually don't do meetings on a Friday, right?
Fridays are tough for a lot of people, yeah.
I have no social life, Fridays are.
Unless
Yeah, I
we
know,
do-
me too. I have no idea Friday.
I'm like.
So is that for sure? It's moving the 17th?
We're not sure yet,
Well,
right?
Michelle says she's available on the 17th.
Michelle's available on the 17th, right, so I would try to accommodate Michelle if possible, right, just to make sure that we have as many CEC members for the interview. So if the interview would have to happen on the 17th, that could be our only option right now. And if we can switch the touch base, if not, then Michelle won't attend the touch base, it's not mandatory.
And if Michelle doesn't show up the 17th?
I gave her the option. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
You good, Carly? All right.
Are we gonna talk about the format of the interview?
How do you want to do this? How do you want to conduct the interview? So what we've done, I've sat through interviews before. Weren't you interviewed, Anne-Marie? You were.
No, she was
I was
appointed.
You were appointed, right? Okay. So what we've done in the past, we've asked the candidate to speak a little bit about who he or she is, what schools their child attends, why they're running for CEC, and why we should vote for them, and then we would do the questions. So, we can run down, if anybody's got questions, we could do it informally. Unless you have a different format that you would like to use.
No, I was just wondering if there's, a format that you follow.
No, we just want to know a little bit about who these candidates are, where they're coming from, will they be able to attend our meetings, that they understand the importance of attending, and then we can ask questions. We're not voting for them until our next calendar meeting. So if we have 4 candidates in 2 positions, we have to vote for 2 of them.
When we do C30s in the district, we just make sure that we ask everyone the same questions.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I would
Right, so
try
like
to-
you guys can create
I just participated in one of
3 or
those.
4,
So-
who's ever at the interview, however you wanna do it, so everybody gets asked the same.
There are certain questions that are kind of improper under DOE guidelines. I don't know if that applies
Oh,
to
yeah, we
CEC.
should look at those.
I know that at C30, they were very clear with us that we had to say exactly the same words to each candidate, so that there was no difference in between.
Correct. I don't know if.
You guys don't fall under the same things
We
that
don't
we do,
fall
I just
under
think we
that.
find it
It's
to
fair
be
though.
helpful to,
Yeah.
It's fairer.
depending
Yeah.
upon what, what
Not
the
fair that each person
role
has
is.
their own.
Juliana, maybe you can give them some suggested questions that have come up in the past.
Yeah, we might need some guidance on how to conduct our interview, right? I don't wanna
I have a
say,
list of questions that are
do you have what you should not ask?
Not that they're doing a good job. So some of those, some of those questions don't really apply, like, this is not a job.
Right.
Can you email the questions?
Right, but you just wouldn't want to ask one person a question
And then not ask
and then
the
not
other.
ask the other.
I'm telling you, I did one
How
of
old are you?
the interviews for an AP, and I was told, you cannot ask, is it Ms. Mrs. You cannot ask, how do you pronounce your last name? Where are you from?
It is
Like,
nerve-wracking.
I was
I
like,
have to do
these are things that I typically, I just,
Everything
everything I
that
should be, I
you
ask, right?
ask.
It's not my mouth shut, right? So-
We were even told like how you introduced yourself had to be the same. So,
Right.
like, I was thinking in my head like, don't say your name wrong. I was saying my own name wrong.
Exactly. So, I don't know if that applies to CEC, but I don't want to ask something that's improper,
So
right?
much pressure.
It's just a formality of, like, tell us about yourself and then
Right.
just asking the same questions to each candidate, so it's not.
What would you wanna know?
Well, I would want to know what school their child attends, right?
They should know that already.
It's on their application. We should all get a copy of the application.
Yes, you should all have it
I
already.
don't think I have a copy
Oh, do we?
You should,
No, the public profile, yes.
so you should send that out to everybody.
I gotta get it first.
Okay.
Work on that part. Where do I find that?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll send it again.
Can we ask something like their preference for in-person, or can we ask a question about their in-person to remote?
I mean, I think that you should let them know that the meetings are in person, and just make sure that they're willing to attend. Like, that's definitely very important, like, it's very important. I mean, obviously, they're not gonna say, no, I'm not willing to attend your meetings,
Right.
but you sort of wanna read their body language. Yeah, so you're gonna know the school, you don't have to ask that again. I'll send you some suggestions.
Okay, perfect. And
I
if you can
can't
send the application.
imagine somebody asking something improper. Like, to ask somebody how they prefer to be addressed, like, again, this is not a
not a job
interview,
interview.
so it's really like, you don't have to, you're not gonna be bound by HR laws.
Right, okay.
The same way. Then if not all of you are in attendance, then you can go into an executive session at your next calendar meeting in December. So on December 1st, if you need to have a discussion with the whole body to discuss the interviews, then you can.
We have to go into executive session.
Yeah, you don't really want to discuss like the interviews. Obviously, Carly will take minutes, so you can share the minutes of the interviews with. But you don't.
The interview is not recorded, correct? That
No,
special
it's
meeting is recorded, so.
Exactly. So anyways, yeah. So you can anyone who's not present can listen to the interviews, and then there shouldn't be a need for an
So,
executive session. And
if it's
then
being
you just vote.
recorded like this, then
You
we
can
really
vote
need
at
to
the
be
calendar
formal,
meeting
because we
or
don't wanna
at the
ask anything
discussion.
improper.
No, at the calendar meeting, at the next regularly scheduled calendar.
So we do need a quorum at our next calendar meeting in order
To vote on the-
Absolutely.
Correct.
You
But
must have a
So
vote.
it's
once again,
really-
that interview is a recorded meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
because it's just it's
So
an open meeting.
we don't wanna ask an improper question, basically.
Well, I will send you the guidelines
Okay.
for interviewing administrative assistants, because they're DOE employees, and then you can make sure that your questions are in line with overarching HR policies.
Okay. We don't wanna get in trouble for that. And then we'll have to have a quorum present for our,
So it's imperative that we all be here.
Right, so I'm just asking Michelle if she's gonna make the December 1st.
Yes.
if we don't have quorum, then it goes to January, to say that.
Right. Unless we have borough presidents.
Unless-
Get more.
So even if, let's say, we have quorum on December 1st and we vote 2 candidates, those 2 candidates then comes on in January, but not for
No,
December.
they can start immediately.
They can start immediately.
Yeah, they can
come sit, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that that these candidates come to our December meeting, because then they can participate if they're.
All 4 of them? Wouldn't that be kind of embarrassing?
That is typically,
Yeah, that is what they do, that happens, right? Yeah, that happens.
We've had people come in person, and unfortunately, one member wasn't,
You'll deliver the message.
Yeah, that's.
I hate to say that.
He did, yeah.
You're the president.
He did.
But we always thank, and that person reapplied again.
that's great. Is
Yeah,
anybody here on the council of notary?
I am.
Oh, perfect,
And so is
okay,
Lynn.
good. So then, Carly will have copies of the oaths, and their oaths can be notarized the night of, and everything can be
And then
perfectly.
they can
work.
However,
stamps.
if we don't have quorum, then it's not gonna happen. So-
Yeah.
Well, if we're all gonna be there, Michelle says she'll be there, Joseph usually comes, so
Yeah.
we should make
We should have
sure,
quorum.
as long as we all
Correct,
get sick, stay away from everybody, bubble wrap yourself until December 7th.
Until December 1st.
correct. All right, so that's, all right, so Carly, you'll send out those applications, do we know?
Yes.
And do we still entertain new applicants?
I was just about to ask that.
Was there a deadline?
It's open.
Yeah, it's open, of course. If someone applies, you can consider
I
them.
think
Okay,
there was a date on there.
all right.
But there's no reason not to consider somebody if they applied. I think the deadline is to help us make sure that you have someone in time.
let's say we have another vacancy, right? So let's say the candidates that applied gets rejected. Do they have to reapply again and go
No.
through the interview?
No, you
process?
keep those, Carly and I keep those on file, and you can always choose. They stay on file for the term.
Okay, so we don't have to like one, like, so we don't have to like two people, we can only like one of them.
If we don't
That's
elect,
correct.
Right?
we don't even have to elect one of, I mean, if you don't like, if we don't
I hate
feel,
it, that term.
if they're not elected, then they're not elected. We don't have to pick them anyway.
Okay, that's right.
We would say yay, nay, or abstain.
Can
Yeah,
we make
I-
it anonymous? Not, because I really don't.
You don't feel comfortable.
gonna be one of us.
Yeah, we can't do it anonymously. You don't have to, you can.
We'll walk you to your car.
I know.
She can't abstain, you're gonna have quorum. Don't you need 6 votes? Do you need 6 votes for that?
So, yeah. What if we have,
Nancy, you're gonna have to get over it.
you're gonna have to vote, it's gonna be tough. Unless
You
you
can
get-
let Catherine say it for you.
Unless Rushby comes and then we have the quorum and, then that one person doesn't have to. It is awkward.
But all 6 have to agree on one candidate.
So it could be, right, we would have, well, we would take it one candidate at a time, correct? We'll say number 1, and then we go through the roll call, correct? If we get 6.
Yeah.
I think
this-
It's not, this was, it's by roll call vote, each person.
This is a roll call vote, and since you're voting to fill a vacancy, you're voting for a name. I wanna double check at face, but what I think you need to do is I think you need to vote on our first vacancy position. So you have a vacancy position. So you will say whichever candidate you want. So your first choice, like who's your top person? You need to vote for a name. And as long as you have 6 people who vote for that one name, then you will
That
elect
seat.
that person to that first seat. So say you get 4 votes for one person. Hopefully, 2 of your members change their vote, seeing that it's more likely that you have vote for candidate
If we have,
That's even worse.
of course, yeah, because
Right.
you have 4 people and you're going to name
You're gonna name one person
one
at a time.
person at a time.
You only say one name at a time.
So we're not discussing after the interview that night, we're not discussing then?
We
who are
could have
when?
it.
You can, but if you want to discuss the interviews, you really shouldn't discuss it in an executive session. It should not be open to the public. You
I
should
mean,
have a
after the
conversation.
interview, the night of the interview,
There
like,
could
we're not
be-
gonna like talk after the interviews and say,
You can,
Oh, we
you
can.
just want to go into a breakout room, have your discussion, and then come back to
oh, the
adjourn.
interview is open meeting? The interview is.
Yeah.
Special interview is an open meeting.
Oh,
okay.
Interview is in front of the public eye.
I get it.
And then, but you don't wanna sort of say like, well, I really didn't like what that person said, like, in front of the public.
Okay.
It just
Yeah.
gets to be too personal.
Right.
We're probably gonna have executive, so
I see.
how are we
Now
gonna
I'm
do this?
seeing where you're, okay, I get
These
it.
meetings are very
That's
tough,
fine.
right, between who's remote, switching the mic,
No, but you don't, that's a remote meeting.
No, when we come back to the calendar meeting,
Oh.
and let's assume we wanna do a breakout room, executive session during the calendar meeting. Are we walking out of the meeting?
Yeah, there's another office downstairs you could all go into. That fits.
So
that
we would
fits
have
the
to call
15
executive
protocol.
session during our calendar meeting, the camera keeps rolling, we walk out.
That's Warren's getting worse and
That's even worse.
You cannot come on December first.
If you have this kind of like setup, then I think you would just ask the 3 of us in the audience to leave.
Shut the camera,
And just shut the mic off.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's probably what we're gonna end up
It's not
doing.
gonna take you that long.
Okay.
I think that.
But I don't think,
But there's 4
if we have 4 positions,
They're gonna be wandering the building though, so like if we.
How
left,
many
we would be-
seats are there?
It's
Two?
two seats.
4 people, 2 seats. This is like, you want to have options. You can pick the 2 people that you think are going to work best with your council.
Right. But
This is
if
good
we have
for you.
4 people, Joe, John, Billy, and I say Joe, and she says John, and she says Billy, she says Wendy, there's no quorum. It's one
There's no
person.
vote, so you vote again. It's just like at your annual meeting.
So we gotta keep
where
going
you
around.
vote for president. So
We
instead
could
of
be
voting
doomed
for,
to
you vote for
forever voting.
president as many times as it, well, I mean, at least a couple times, and then you can table it, but you'll vote, I am certain, by the second vote, that you
It'll
will
be-
have 6 votes for one of the candidates.
Okay.
You have 4 people to choose from, everyone submitted applications, everyone wrote a statement about themselves.
Got it, okay. All right, so
I do think,
we have work to do.
that, let's see, the special meeting's gonna happen very soon. I'm wondering whether or not Carly should offer some interpretation services.
The special meeting?
I don't know whether that's a possibility or not. Not if we have it. Okay. Well, for who? Just for
Do
candidates.
all our candidates speak
Candidates.
English? We
I don't know.
We don't know.
Applications were submitted in English.
English?
My emails are responded in English,
Perfect.
all of them.
Okay. All right, then it's
So
not-
it'll be
it's not a problem.
interesting.
Yeah.
You're not coming to.
I don't go to that,
You don't
no.
go to the- you just sit-
Why not?
Because I don't vote.
You just come for the
I am in
interview.
service of the
Are you gonna be
CEC.
at
I
the
don't-
interview?
If you have it.
Oh, it's public, no, I would be there, but I don't
You
sit
don't
here.
sit, right.
Yeah,
Well, it's remote.
yeah, so
Right.
I'll be there, but not to ask me any questions, I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
It just depends upon what night you have it.
Okay, so they're
But
looking
there's
for.
really no reason for me to be there.
Okay. I mean,
There's no
if
reason
we have
for
any,
us to
it's an
have it.
interview, so
There's-
it's kind of like
Yeah.
informal, right?
Yeah, you're gonna report it and you're just gonna.
But it's
you're
being
gonna talk to
recorded,
the
so
candidate.
maybe if you wanna circulate like an email about what questions you wanna ask, we can all agree on that beforehand.
Oh,
Is that
that's
okay?
great. I'll send some suggested questions.
Okay.
See, think about the work you guys do.
I think what we do and what we wanna do, right?
You can ask about special education. What's your experience with IEP?
Yeah, I remember, people would say like, one of our CEC goals has been, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
What's your opinion on that? Or would you have another goal that you feel is of community importance that you would want to talk about as a CEC?
Have you ever been to a CEC meeting? What
Right.
were your first impressions?
So Catherine is also, we always value your opinion.
Yeah, if you have
I don't
any
know if Catherine
questions.
can take part in that as the interview because she's not a CEC member. She can't vote, but.
But definitely will have opinions.
What did you say, Catherine?
She said she definitely will have opinions.
Very good.
Is Catherine allowed to take part in our executive session?
Yes,
Okay. So
She
this
just
is-
can't vote. She can do everything but vote, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So we always welcome your input.
I
Yeah.
will be there.
Okay. All right, so having said that, that'll be very interesting. We still have one member that doesn't attend, but it's always an excused absence. So Rushmi has not been, she's got 2 unexcused absences. It seems that her absences are work-related, so they just continue to remain as excused absences. We can't do anything.
Because I believe Michelle's absence was an excuse.
Excuse
Her
also,
absence from
right.
work today.
Correct.
Right, that's why I posed the question of maybe we should have a stipulation, not as
Doesn't the
tight
open
as
meeting law,
unexcused.
doesn't it change as of January? Isn't that till January?
It's true, like the option of meeting virtual expires in January and
So at that point, if they don't attend, it's still, if they work related, it's still an excused absence.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
We're just
It
not
shouldn't
getting
be
any, that
open-ended,
member's
right?
not having any voting rights.
that's right.
So, okay. So,
Anne Marie's concerned about quorum.
Right,
It's
right,
quorum,
even
yeah.
if we have a full council, it's still poses,
We need
like, having
6
that
members,
open-ended, I
right.
think is a dangerous, because we don't know how often we're gonna wind up in these situations, just because January might be back in person, but June, we might be back, in
Correct.
another situation like this, so I just.
but
think
we
should
really
be
haven't really
kind of-
had anything to vote on,
Right.
other than your
Right.
motion.
Juliana, are there any, like, state regulations about that you can give them in advance? Because I know that, kind of like sometimes when we write bylaws for certain things, they can't, there's certain things that we can't override, and certain things that we can,
Right,
you know,
that's-
so like, if absences are tied into state law, I don't know.
So
Right.
so in your bylaws, your absences, your excused absences point to chancellor's regulations. And so you can't make bylaws that contradict chancellor's regulations.
Correct.
But what Anne Marie seems to be proposing is a limit on the number of excused absences.
Right, and I did look at the regulations, you know how I am,
Mhm.
and I didn't see anything in there that says there's a cap.
Right.
So that's why I was wondering, can we put, I'm not saying 3, I think 3 is too little,
Uh-huh.
or maybe 6,
Yeah.
you know, unexcused. You know, 3 unexcused, but 6 excused ones, because I mean, it
So,
really
yeah.
does hinder.
Yeah, so the DOE's, legal office will say, may say, like, there is no limit, there is no cap, as you say, there's no cap spelled out.
Right.
However, the meaning of an excused absence is that it doesn't count against you. And
Right.
so I will check with them, my understanding, it's interesting that your bylaws point to chancellor's regulations. My understanding is that this is actually spelled out in state law. So these excused absences, including the job-related conflict, I think are actually in 2590. I have to double check. But I will get an answer from Jesse in legal, because, if you have the ability to put a cap on absences, I understand your concern about norm.
He's just nodding at me. I'm here talking and he's not going, can you hear me? He goes, no. He's nodding.
I want whatever you have to
So, yeah, these names are a little difficult to understand, communicate. So
It's funny because you think you're heard.
I thought I heard
You know what, I
you
think
say.
I do that too, like I do that too, but you think you're being heard.
You know very clearly what you're saying underneath your mask.
I know.
All right, so if there's nothing else, any motions to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, okay, so thank you everyone for joining us. Good meeting.
Thank you for my
Quick,
chai
point.
tea
See you guys
experience.
next week, hopefully.